Thomas Reeves learned about consequences at age 12, watching his father sell their home to pay gambling debts. That night, he sat on the curb outside their Pittsburgh row house, his mother's quiet sobs mixing with distant sirens. "Won't happen to me," he muttered, gripping his toolkit, the only birthday gift he'd received that year. His father had taught him one valuable lesson. Trust had to be earned, and once broken, it turned to ash. 26 years later, Thomas stood in his office at Hydrotech Manufacturing, examining blueprints for their latest industrial pump design. His calloused fingers traced the precise lines he'd drawn, each calculation double-checked, each measurement verified. The same attention to detail that had earned him a full scholarship to Carnegie Mellon now made him one of Hydrotech's most valued engineers. "Mr. Reeves?" His assistant Sarah knocked on the doorframe. "Your wife called. She mentioned dinner with the Coopers tonight." Thomas checked his watch, 6:45 p.m. "Tell her I'll be home by 7:30. She specifically said 7:30. His tone left no room for discussion. The prototype needed testing, and he wouldn't rush quality work for another of Jessica's social obligations. The drive home gave Thomas time to reflect on his marriage to Jessica Cooper. They'd met during sophomore year, when he'd fixed her car in the university parking lot. She'd stood there in designer boots, watching him work with a mixture of curiosity and something else, calculation, though he hadn't recognized it then. "You're different," she'd said, twirling her keys. "Most guys try to impress me with their father's money. You just fixed it." Rachel Turner, his best friend since freshman year, had seen through Jessica immediately. They'd argued about it in Rachel's cramped psychology student office. "She's using you, Thomas. I've seen how she operates, the way she networks, the way she cultivates relationships. You're her ticket to looking charitable while maintaining her social status." Thomas had defended Jessica fiercely. "You don't know her like I do. She chose me over the trust fund kids." Rachel's dark eyes had softened with concern. Did she? Or did she see something they missed? He'd stormed out, convinced Rachel was jealous. Now, pulling into his driveway, Thomas remembered that conversation with uncomfortable clarity. The Cooper family gathering buzzed with its usual pretension. Robert Cooper, Jessica's uncle and the family patriarch, held court in the living room of his mansion, discussing real estate developments with his usual circle of sycophants. "Thomas," Robert beckoned him over. "Tell James about that new industrial park project. He's looking for investment opportunities." James Whitaker stood with practiced ease, his tailored suit and perfect hair marking him as old money. He'd been Jessica's mentor at Cooper Real Estate for years, though Thomas had always sensed something off about their dynamic. "Industrial development isn't very glamorous," Thomas said, noting how Jessica gravitated to their conversation. "It's about functionality, not flash." "Nonsense," James smiled. "Jessica tells me you're brilliant at what you do. We should discuss opportunities over golf sometime." Thomas didn't play golf. "I prefer working with my hands." Later that night, he found Jessica in their bedroom, removing expensive jewelry. "You could try harder with James," she said. "He could open doors for us." "I open my own doors." Thomas loosened his tie. "And I don't trust men who smile while they're sizing you up." Jessica sighed. "Not everyone is your father, Thomas. Sometimes people genuinely want to help." The argument that followed was familiar. Jessica pushing for more networking, more social climbing, more compromise. Thomas holding firm to his principles, his independence. 3 years into their marriage, Michael's birth changed everything. Thomas sat in the hospital room, holding his son, overwhelming love warring with a nagging doubt he couldn't place. "He has your determination," Jessica said, watching them, but her voice held a note of tension Thomas would only understand years later. Rachel visited them in the hospital, her psychiatrist's training evident in how she observed their family dynamic. "Congratulations," she said, but her smile didn't quite reach her eyes when she looked at Jessica. "Want to hold him?" Thomas offered. Rachel cradled Michael carefully. "He's beautiful," she said softly. "He deserves nothing but truth and love in his life." Jessica's hand twitched on the blanket. What an odd thing to say. As Michael grew, Thomas threw himself into fatherhood with the same dedication he brought to engineering. He taught Michael about tools, about problem solving, about integrity. If sometimes he noticed his son's features didn't quite match his own, he buried the thought deep beneath his love for the boy. "Daddy, why do people lie?" 7-year-old Michael asked one day in the garage, watching Thomas repair their lawn mower. Thomas set down his wrench. "Sometimes people lie because they're afraid of consequences. But lies always have consequences of their own. Is that why you never lie?" "That's right." Thomas ruffled Michael's hair, so different from his own. "Truth is like engineering. If you cut corners, something always breaks." Marianne Phillips, their elderly neighbor, often watched Michael when both parents worked late. Her house smelled of fresh cookies and old paper. She journaled constantly, recording neighborhood life with meticulous detail. "Your boy's growing so fast," she told Thomas one evening. "Reminds me of someone, though I can't quite place it." Her eyes held knowledge she wasn't ready to share. Jessica's sister Amanda began appearing at Thomas's office unannounced, her visits increasing as Michael entered his teens. She'd stand awkwardly by his desk, starting conversations she never finished. "Jessica talks about you all the time," she'd say, then bite her lip. "About how lucky she is." "But," Thomas prompted during one such visit. Amanda clutched her purse. Sometimes the truth hurts more than lies." She hurried out, leaving Thomas to puzzle over her cryptic behavior. The first signs of Michael's illness appeared gradually. A stumble here, unusual fatigue there. Thomas scheduled a checkup with Dr. Andrea Morrison, their family physician. "Has there been any family history of neurological disorders?" Dr. Morrison asked, watching Michael perform coordination tests. "None that I know of," Thomas replied. Dr. Morrison made a note. "I'd like to refer you to Dr. Benjamin Walsh. He specializes in genetic conditions." Thomas recognized the name. Dr. Walsh's reputation preceded him, as did the tragic story of his own son's death from a genetic disorder. The referral set off alarm bells in Thomas's analytical mind. The next few weeks brought a flurry of tests, each one ratcheting up Thomas's anxiety. He threw himself into research, studying genetic disorders with the same intensity he brought to engineering problems. Jessica's behavior grew increasingly erratic. She missed appointments, made excuses, spent more time at work with James Whitaker. Thomas noted each inconsistency, each evasion, filing them away like specifications for a project he wasn't ready to build. The genetic test results arrived on a rainy Tuesday. Dr. Walsh's office felt too small, too warm, as he explained the impossible, a Y chromosome link disorder that couldn't have come from Thomas. "There must be a mistake," Thomas said, his voice steady despite the roaring in his ears. Dr. Walsh slid the results across his desk. "We ran the tests 3 times, Mr. Reeves. The marker isn't present in your DNA. It's not possible for you to have passed this condition to Michael." Thomas stared at the paper, 15 years of overlooked clues suddenly snapping into focus. Jessica's late nights with James. Michael's features that never quite matched his own. Amanda's guilty visits. Marianne's knowing looks. "Does my wife have access to these results?" "Not yet." As the father, Dr. Walsh paused, realizing his mistake. "As Michael's legal father, you have first access." Thomas folded the results carefully, tucking them into his jacket pocket. "Thank you, doctor. I'll handle this appropriately." He walked to his car, each step measured, each breath controlled. The engineer in him began constructing a new project, one with tolerances and devastating output. By the time he reached home, the foundation was already laid. Jessica was working late again. Thomas sat in his home office, phone in hand, and made 2 calls. The first to Richard Thorne, a private investigator recommended by Rachel. The second to Rachel herself. "I need your professional opinion," he told her. "How does a man dismantle a lie that's lasted 15 years? Rachel's voice held no surprise, only support. "One piece at a time, Thomas. And this time, listen to my warnings." Thomas hung up and opened his laptop. In the darkness of his office, he began documenting everything. Dates, inconsistencies, suspicious patterns. Each entry another nail in the coffin of his marriage. Each revelation feeding a cold fury that would soon reshape lives. The truth about consequences was about to come full circle. Chapter 2. Tremors. Dr. Andrea Morrison prided herself on attention to detail. 20 years of family practice had taught her to spot patterns others missed. Watching 14-year-old Michael Reeves struggle with simple coordination tests sent warning signals through her professional intuition. "Try touching your nose again," she instructed, noting how his finger wavered off course. Michael complied, his frustrated expression revealing he knew something was wrong. "Mom says I'm just clumsy," Michael offered, but his eyes held worry beyond his years. Dr. Morrison made another note in his file. "Michael, would you mind waiting outside while I talk to your father?" Once Michael left, she turned to Thomas Reeves. His steady gaze reminded her of steel, unyielding, reliable. "Mr. Reeves, I'm concerned about Michael's symptoms. The coordination issues, combined with the fatigue he's experiencing, I'd like to refer him to a specialist. You have someone in mind?" Thomas's voice remained calm, but his fingers tightened on his chair's armrest. "Dr. Benjamin Walsh. He's the best geneticist in the state." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "He has personal experience with similar cases." Thomas absorbed this information with the same methodical focus he brought to everything. "You suspect a genetic condition. We need to rule it out." She handed him Dr. Walsh's card. His son had a similar presentation of symptoms. "It makes him particularly thorough in these cases." After they left, Dr. Morrison sat in her office, reviewing Michael's history. Something nagged at her medical instincts, subtle inconsistencies in the family medical history she'd gathered over the years. She made a note to send Dr. Walsh the complete file. Across town, Mary Ann Phillips added another entry to her journal. At 78, journaling helped keep her mind sharp after Harold's death. Today's entry concerned the Reeves family. Michael home sick again. Jessica's car absent overnight, third time this month. Black Mercedes parked 2 blocks down from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. Same plate as previous instances. Thomas worked late in garage. Light on until 3 a.m. Boy doesn't look right. Reminds me of James Whitaker when he visits Jessica during Thomas's business trips. Mary Ann closed her journal, adding it to the stack that documented 15 years of neighborhood activity. Harold had called her nosy. She preferred observant. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Amanda Cooper stood there, wringing her hands, a nervous habit she'd had since childhood. "Is Thomas home?" Amanda asked, peering past Mary Ann toward the Reeves house. "At work, dear." Like always, Mary Ann studied the younger woman's anxious expression. "Would you like some tea?" Amanda followed her into the kitchen, perching on a chair like a bird ready for flight. "I keep trying to talk to him. About Jessica. About everything. But the words won't come." Mary Ann poured tea into Harold's old cups. "Truths like that sometimes. Sits heavy on the tongue. I should have told him years ago." Amanda's voice cracked. "When I first found out. But Jessica said it would destroy Michael's life. That Thomas would." "Would what, dear?" "Leave them with nothing. Like his father left him." Amanda stared into her tea. But watching Michael get sick, knowing the medical history they're missing, Mary Ann patted Amanda's hand. "Truth finds its way out, dear. Like water through cracks." At that moment, Dr. Benjamin Walsh reviewed Michael's file in his office. Photos of his own son, lost to a similar genetic condition, watched from his desk. The similarities in symptoms sent a chill through his professional detachment. His nurse knocked softly. "Dr. Walsh? Mr. Reeves is here with Michael." The consultation proceeded by protocol. Medical history, family background, physical examination. Dr. Walsh noted Thomas's careful answers, his intense focus on every detail. "We'll need genetic testing," Dr. Walsh explained. "Given the pattern of symptoms and family history." "What family history?" Thomas interrupted. "I provided our complete medical records." Dr. Walsh reviewed his notes. "Yes, but sometimes these conditions can skip generations or present differently in carriers. A full genetic panel will give us the clearest picture." As they scheduled the tests, Dr. Walsh observed Thomas's interaction with Michael. The boy clearly adored his father, yet something in their physical features didn't align. The kind of detail medical training taught doctors to notice. Later that week, Amanda made another attempt to visit Thomas at Hydrotech. She paced outside his office, rehearsing speeches that died before reaching her lips. "Can I help you?" Thomas's assistant Sarah asked. "I need to tell him." Amanda twisted her ring. "About Jessica and James. About Michael's real." "Real what?" Thomas stood in his doorway, suit jacket draped over his arm. Amanda froze. "Sometimes the truth hurts more than lies," she whispered, then fled down the hallway. Thomas watched her go, adding another piece to the puzzle he didn't yet know he was solving. That evening, he found himself studying old family photos, engineering precision noting details he'd overlooked for years. The genetic test results arrived with the weight of inevitability. Dr. Walsh's face held the gravity of someone who delivered this kind of news before, both as a doctor and as a father. "The condition is Y chromosome linked," he explained, sliding the results across his desk. "Passed from father to son." Thomas read the report, his expression unchanging. "But I'm not the carrier." "No." Dr. Walsh met his gaze. "The marker isn't present in your DNA. Scientifically speaking, it's impossible for you to have passed this condition to Michael." Thomas folded the results with precise movements. "Who has access to this information?" "As of now, only this office." "Patient confidentiality." "Maintain that confidentiality, doctor." Thomas stood. "I'll handle the necessary discussions with my family." He walked out of the office, each step calculated, each breath measured. In his car, he pulled out his phone and made a call. "Richard Thorne Investigations." "Mr. Thorne? I need your services, particularly those of your daughter Sophia. I understand she specializes in digital forensics." "She does. May I ask the nature of the investigation?" Thomas gripped his steering wheel. 15 years of lies need uncovering. Emails, photos, messages, everything between my wife and James Whitaker. That's extensive. So is my budget." Thomas started his car. "I want everything." "And Mr. Thorne?" "Time is a factor. My son's health depends on accessing his true medical history." That evening, Thomas sat in his garage, surrounded by tools that made sense, machines that followed rules. His phone buzzed. "Rachel?" "Amanda came to my office," she said without preamble. "She's carrying a heavy burden, Thomas. She's had 15 years to unload it." People get trapped in lies. The longer they wait, the harder it becomes to find a way out. Thomas picked up a wrench, testing its weight. "I'm about to make it very easy for them, Rachel. Everything's about to change." "What are you planning?" "Justice." He set the wrench down. "Pure and simple." Chapter 3. The Fracture. The hospital corridor stretched before Thomas like a path to execution. He stood by Michael's window, watching his son. No, not his son. Sleep peacefully, unaware of the storm about to break. Richard Thorne's daughter Sophia had delivered results faster than expected. Thomas held his phone, scrolling through 15 years of betrayal documented in emails, photos, and messages between Jessica and James Whitaker. Their digital trail painted a picture of calculated deception that made his blood run cold. "I love how he works overtime for our family vacations," Jessica had written to James. "While we get our private getaways." Another message from James. "Michael has your eyes, darling. Thomas is too busy with his precious machines to notice." Thomas's grip tightened on his phone as he read through years of mockery, secret meetings, and shared jokes at his expense. The timestamps aligned perfectly with Marianne Phillips's detailed journals. Every late-night visit, every suspicious car, every unexplained absence documented by his observant neighbor. The elevator chimed, pulling Thomas from his dark thoughts. Karen Cooper's heels clicked against the linoleum as she stormed toward him, her face contorted with self-righteous fury. Several nurses turned to stare as she approached. "You monster!" Karen grabbed his collar, spittle flying from her lips. "How dare you? How could you deny your own blood? Throwing away 15 years of marriage." Thomas remained perfectly still, his voice carrying the cold of a surgeon's blade. "Read it." He pulled the medical report from his pocket, his movements deliberate and controlled. Karen's hands shook as she snatched the document. Her eyes darted across the page, color draining from her face as the implications sank in. She looked up, her gaze automatically seeking James Whitaker, who hovered anxiously near the nurse's station. In that moment, everything clicked into place. The resemblance between James and Michael stood out like a blueprint finally brought into focus. The same nose, the same chin, even the same nervous gesture of running fingers through their hair. "Oh God," Karen whispered, stumbling backward. "Jessica." She didn't. 15 years, Thomas said softly, each word precise and measured. 15 years of lies. 15 years of watching my wife and her lover laugh behind my back. 15 years of raising another man's child while being mocked for my dedication. Thomas, Karen's righteous anger had dissolved into horror. "I didn't know." "No." His laugh held no humor. "Tell me, Karen, all those family dinners, all those gatherings, did Jessica and James think they were being subtle? Or did you all just enjoy watching the fool who trusted his wife?" James took a hesitant step forward, but Thomas's cold stare froze him in place. "Think carefully before you speak," Thomas warned. "Your wife doesn't know yet, but she will. Everyone will." "Please," James's voice cracked. "We can discuss this privately." "Privacy?" Thomas's voice carried down the corridor. "Like the privacy you and Jessica maintained while destroying my life? The privacy you used to hide medical information that could have helped diagnose Michael sooner." A nurse approached cautiously. "Sir, this is a hospital." "Yes, it is." Thomas straightened his tie. "A place of healing. But some wounds can't be healed. They can only be excised." He turned to Karen, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Tell Jessica I know everything. Tell her to prepare herself. Because what's coming will make these medical results look like a paper cut." Karen backed away, clutching the test results to her chest. "What are you going to do?" Thomas smiled, expression devoid of warmth. "I'm going to do what I do best. Take something apart piece by piece until nothing remains but the truth." He looked through the window at Michael's sleeping form. "I trusted Jessica with everything, my love, my name, my future. Now she'll learn what happens when that trust is betrayed." He walked away, leaving Karen and James standing in the corridor, the weight of 15 years of deception finally crashing down around them. The nurses whispered among themselves, already ensuring this drama would spread through the hospital grapevine. Thomas stepped into the elevator, his reflection in the polished doors showing a man transformed. The trusting husband had died in Dr. Walsh's office. What remained was something else, something forged in betrayal and tempered by rage. His phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. "Are you okay?" "No," he replied simply, "but I will be. When this is finished, when they've lost everything like I have, then maybe I'll be okay." The elevator doors closed on Act 1, sealing Thomas's transformation from victim to architect of destruction. The foundation of lies had cracked, and the entire structure was about to come crashing down. Chapter 4. Calculated Moves. Diana Whitaker's law office projected power. Thomas sat across from her desk, watching James's wife of 20 years examine the evidence he'd brought. Her manicured nails clicked against her tablet as she swiped through years of betrayal. 20 years of marriage, Diana said, her voice carrying the precision of a practiced litigator. 2 children in private universities. A reputation built on family values. She set down the tablet. "And all this time, he had another son. Will you help me?" Thomas asked. Diana removed her glasses. "Mr. Reeves, I've spent 2 decades defending corporate clients while my husband built his practice on a foundation of lies. You've given me everything I need to destroy him." She smiled, all teeth and no mercy. "The question is, how much damage do you want to inflict?" "Total." Thomas leaned forward. "I want them to lose everything they value. Pride, status, power. Your wife's family has significant influence in this city. Then we'll take that too." Diana nodded, appreciating his resolve. "What about the boy? Michael?" "I've already instructed my lawyer." Thomas's voice remained steady. "I'm refusing custody." Diana's eyebrows rose. "That's unexpected. I'll pay for his medical care. He's innocent in this, but I won't pretend anymore. Let James and Jessica deal with the consequences of their choices. They'll call you heartless. They already think I'm a fool. I prefer heartless." Later that day, Thomas met with Rachel Turner in her office. She'd cleared her schedule when he called, recognizing the tension in his voice. Refusing custody is a big step, Rachel said, watching him pace. Are you sure? Michael needs medical treatment. He'll get it. But I won't play the devoted father while they laugh behind my back. Thomas stopped moving. Did you know there's a shared digital vault? Years of messages, photos, videos, all documenting their affair. Rachel leaned forward. What are you planning? The truth hurts more than lies, Thomas quoted Amanda's words. Time to prove it. Sophia Thorne's expertise proved invaluable. She sat in her father's office, showing Thomas how to access the digital trail of betrayal. The security was decent, she said, fingers flying across her keyboard. But they got sloppy, arrogant, left breadcrumbs everywhere. Richard Thorne watched from the doorway. We found something interesting in James's private emails. He's been pushing to get Thomas involved in real estate investments. Setting me up as a mark, Thomas nodded. While sleeping with my wife and raising Michael, Sophia pulled up a folder. What do you want to do with all this? Thomas examined the screen. Photos of Jessica and James together, spanning 15 years. Messages mocking his trust. Plans made while he worked overtime. Release it. Strategically. Starting with James's parents. They're conservative, Richard noted. Old money, old values. Exactly. Thomas stood. Send them the photos from before Michael's birth first. Let them see how long this betrayal has lasted. The first strike landed with precision. George and Eleanor Whitaker received an anonymous envelope containing photos of their son with Jessica, dated months before Michael's birth. The timestamp matched hospital records showing James had attended prenatal appointments while Thomas worked. James's phone exploded with notifications. His father's message carried decades of disappointment. You dishonored everything we taught you. That boy is our grandson, and you let another man raise him? Thomas watched the chaos unfold through Sophia's surveillance. James called Jessica in a panic. My parents know. His voice cracked over the recorded line. They're threatening to cut me off. How? Jessica's fear bled through. Thomas couldn't. Someone sent photos. From before Michael was born. They're talking about changing their will. Thomas forwarded the recording to Diana. Her response came quickly. Perfect timing. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. This will destroy his claims about family values. The next phase began. While Thomas worked late at Hydrotech, more evidence emerged. Loving messages exchanged during family vacations. Hotel receipts from business trips that never happened. Each revelation calculated to strip away another layer of their carefully constructed lies. You've thought this through, Rachel observed during their next session. I learned from Jessica, Thomas replied. She spent 15 years building her perfect life on my trust. I'll spend 15 minutes burning it down with truth. His phone buzzed. Sophia had accessed more messages. Thomas read them with cold satisfaction. Jessica, he's working late again. Come over. James, what about Michael? Jessica, at a friend's. Thomas thinks I'm at yoga. He never questions anything. Thomas forwarded the exchange to Diana. More ammunition. Diana's reply came swiftly. James just tried to claim our marriage was perfect until recently. This proves 15 years of premeditation. His lawyer is sweating. That evening, Thomas received an unexpected call from Amanda. They're panicking, she said without preamble. Jessica is trying to figure out how you got the photos. Are you ready to tell the truth? A pause. I've carried this secret for so long. Then let it go. Let them face what they've done. Amanda's voice strengthened. Yes. Yes, I'm ready. Thomas hung up and opened his laptop. Phase 1 was complete. The foundation of their lives showed cracks. Time for Phase 2. Mr. Reeves? His assistant Sarah appeared at his door. Mrs. Whitaker, Diana Whitaker is here. Diana strode in, legal papers in hand. James is trying to block access to his medical records. Records that would prove he knew about Michael's genetic condition. Thomas didn't look up from his work. Send the proof to Dr. Walsh. Let him decide how to handle a doctor hiding crucial medical information. That could end his career. Yes. Thomas met her gaze. It could. Chapter 5. The Chess Game. Professional reputations take years to build. Thomas knew this from engineering. One failed project, one miscalculation could erase decades of success. Now he applied this principle to destruction. The actors arrived at Cooper Real Estate precisely at noon. Their performance, drawn from Jessica and James's own messages, played out in the plaza where business lunches usually happened. "My husband's working late again," the actress called out, her voice carrying to the gathered crowd. "Earning money for our vacations while we plan our own getaway." Smartphones recorded everything. Social media exploded. Jessica watched from her office window, face pale as her own words came back to haunt her. Thomas observed through the security feed Sophia had accessed. Diana stood beside him, admiring the execution. "Street theater," she mused. "Creative. They wrote the script themselves. I'm just providing the stage." The performance moved to James's medical practice next. Different actors, same damning words. His carefully cultivated professional image cracked as patients witnessed scenes from his affair performed in public. "You can't do this." James's lawyer sputtered over the phone. "Do what?" Thomas replied calmly. "These are public spaces. The words are all documented. Your client wrote them himself." Diana's legal connections proved devastating. Judge Catherine Martinez, who'd known Diana for 20 years, ensured Jessica's infidelity became public record. The evidence mounted in courthouse documents, available to anyone who looked. "Mrs. Cooper," Judge Martinez addressed Jessica during a preliminary hearing. "These messages indicate a deliberate pattern of deception spanning 15 years, including withholding medical information from your son's legal father." Jessica's lawyer tried to object. The judge cut him off. "The evidence is properly submitted, and rather damning." The real estate community buzzed with gossip. Robert Cooper's influence couldn't stop the whispers, the sideways glances, the canceled meetings. His niece's scandal threatened decades of business relationships. "Fix this," he demanded, confronting Jessica in his office. "Thomas is destroying our reputation." "I'm trying." Jessica's composure cracked. "But he has everything. Photos, messages, proof of James's lies about Michael's health. Then he has proof of your lies too." Robert's face hardened. "Get out of my office. And don't come back until you've contained this mess." The elder Whitakers learned the full extent of their grandson's existence during their 50th wedding anniversary celebration. Thomas's timing was deliberate. 500 guests witnessed James's humiliation. A toast, George Whitaker announced, his voice carrying authority earned over decades. "Not to 50 years of marriage, but to truth. To learning that my son not only committed adultery, but denied his own child proper medical care to hide his sins." James stood frozen as his father continued. "Therefore, Eleanor and I are amending our will. Our grandson Michael will receive his father's share of our estate, to be held in trust for his medical care. As for you, James," George's voice hardened, "you are no longer welcome in this family." The silence that followed felt absolute. Then the whispers started, spreading through Pittsburgh's elite like wildfire. James fled the ballroom, his reputation in tatters. Thomas received the news via Diana's text. "It's done. James is disinherited. The trust will ensure Michael's care without giving James or Jessica control." He forwarded the message to Rachel. Her response came quickly. "How does it feel?" "Like watching a machine I built work perfectly," he replied. Diana's legal strategy proved relentless. Each court filing revealed more damaging evidence. Jessica's attempts to maintain her social standing crumbled as former friends distanced themselves. "They're running out of allies," Sophia reported, monitoring their communications. "James tried to access their digital vault, but I've locked them out. Everything they wrote, everything they documented. It's all under your control now." Thomas nodded. "Keep monitoring. Phase 3 begins soon." Rachel's concern showed during their next session. "The revenge is consuming you." "No," Thomas corrected her. "It's focusing me. Each move planned, each consequence calculated. They spent 15 years building a life on lies. I'm spending 15 days dismantling it with truth." His phone buzzed, Amanda requesting a meeting. He found her in a quiet cafe, hands wrapped around an untouched coffee. "I recorded everything," she said without preamble. Years of Jessica's plans, her manipulation. Amanda swallowed hard. She laughed about your trust, called it her greatest investment. Thomas kept his voice level. Are you ready to make it public?
Yes.
Amanda met his gaze. I protected her lies long enough. Michael deserves better. As he left the cafe, Thomas received another update from Diana. James's partners are calling an emergency meeting. His position at the practice is under review. Good. Thomas checked his watch. Time for the final piece. Chapter 6. Pressure Points. The charity gala's invitation listed James Whitaker as the recipient of their humanitarian award. Thomas studied the heavy cardstock, appreciating the irony. Time to shatter another carefully crafted image. The documentary is ready, Sophia confirmed. Set to play right after the introduction, Thomas had funded the film anonymously, a heartbreaking look at children affected by genetic disorders. Michael's case featured prominently, including damning evidence of James withholding crucial medical history. Dr. Whitaker, the narrator's voice would soon ask, how do you explain denying your own son proper medical care to hide an affair? The gala's organizer, Patricia Montgomery, received an advance copy. Her horrified call to James came through on the monitored line. Is this true? Did you know about Michael's condition? Patty, I can explain. You're receiving an award for pediatric care advocacy, while hiding your own son's medical needs. James's stammered excuses died as she hung up. The award ceremony would proceed. The publicity was already arranged, but now it would destroy rather than enhance his reputation. Nurse Cynthia Rodriguez proved an unexpected ally. Her conscience had bothered her for months about James and Jessica's attempts to alter Michael's medical records. They tried to backdate tests, she told Thomas during their meeting. Make it look like they'd been monitoring the condition. But I kept copies of the original files. Thomas passed this information to Diana. Her response, perfect. This triggers mandatory reporting requirements. Multiple ethics investigations. The pressure built from all sides. James's partners reviewed his cases, looking for other ethical breaches. Jessica's real estate clients canceled contracts. Their carefully constructed social walls crumbled brick by brick. They're running out of options, Diana reported during their daily briefing. James's attempt to claim ignorance about Michael's condition backfired when Dr. Walsh presented the genetic testing timeline. Thomas nodded. And Jessica? Trying to salvage her reputation by claiming she was manipulated. Amanda's evidence destroys that defense. The documentary premiered at the charity gala. James sat rigid in his chair, trapped by social convention as his deceptions played out on screen. The audience's reaction, gasps, whispers, phones recording his discomfort, marked another nail in his professional coffin. A powerful presentation, Thomas said afterward, approaching James for the first time since the hospital. Almost as powerful as a father's duty to protect his child. James's facade cracked. I'll lose everything.
Yes.
Thomas straightened his tie. You will. The next day, medical board investigators arrived at James's practice. Ethics complaints multiplied as the documentary circulated. His partners called an emergency meeting. It's over, Diana texted. The practice is cutting ties. His hospital privileges are under review. Thomas forwarded the news to Rachel. Her response, are you satisfied? Not yet, he replied. The storm's not finished. Chapter 7. Justice Served Cold. The annual Cooper family reunion buzzed with tension. Crystal glasses clinked as Pittsburgh's elite gathered, pretending normalcy while watching Jessica Cooper from the corners of their eyes. Her forced smile fooled no one. Amanda Cooper stood by the entrance, hands steady as she gripped the microphone. Years of guilt had built to this moment. I need to confess something, she announced, her voice cutting through polite conversation. About Jessica and James Whitaker. About Michael. Robert Cooper moved to stop her, but Thomas's presence by the door made him hesitate. This was the first time Thomas had appeared at a Cooper family event since the hospital confrontation. For 15 years, Amanda continued, I helped hide their affair. I made excuses, covered their meetings, watched them deceive Thomas while they laughed about his trust. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Jessica grabbed her sister's arm. Amanda, shut up.
No.
Amanda shook her off. I'm done protecting you. Both of you. She faced the stunned audience. James Whitaker is Michael's biological father. They knew before the birth, but Jessica wanted Thomas's stability, his reputation, his money. Robert Cooper pushed forward. This is ridiculous. I won't allow Dash. You knew too, didn't you, Uncle Robert? Amanda's voice gained strength. You helped arrange their meetings. Used company properties for their rendezvous. Diana Whitaker stepped from the shadows, legal papers in hand, including properties involved in confidential development deals. Isn't that right, Mr. Cooper? Robert's face paled. Who are you? James Whitaker's soon-to-be ex-wife, and a corporate lawyer very interested in how my husband obtained insider information about real estate developments through his affair with your niece. Thomas observed from the doorway as the Cooper family's carefully maintained facade cracked. Years of deception unraveled in minutes. Diana's voice carried through the shocked silence. We have documentation of at least 12 instances where James used information obtained during encounters with Jessica to gain advantages in real estate deals. The SEC is very interested. You can't prove that, Robert sputtered. Actually, Thomas spoke for the first time. We can. Your own security systems recorded their meetings. Your property's access logs confirm their timing. And James's subsequent business decisions align perfectly. Jessica's uncle stared at her with growing horror. What have you done? She did exactly what you taught her, Thomas answered. Used people. Made connections. The only difference is, she got caught. Multiple ethics investigations hit simultaneously. Diana's legal strategy proved devastating. Each revelation timed to maximize damage. James's business relationships collapsed as evidence of insider trading emerged. Robert Cooper's attempt to protect his legacy backfired spectacularly. His involvement in facilitating the affair implicated him in the financial improprieties. The family's reputation, built over generations, crumbled in days. Marianne Phillips's detailed journals proved crucial during divorce proceedings. Thomas's legal team presented 15 years of documented patterns, late-night visits, suspicious cars, unexplained absences. Please state your observations from October 12th, 10 years ago, Thomas's lawyer requested. Marianne adjusted her glasses. Jessica Cooper's car was absent from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. A black Mercedes, James Whitaker's car, was parked 2 blocks away. Thomas worked late that night. It was Michael's birthday. Jessica's lawyer objected, but the evidence mounted. Each journal entry matched hotel receipts, credit card statements, phone records. The deception scope stunned even the jaded family court judge. These records are extraordinarily detailed, the judge noted. I had nothing else to do after Harold died, Marianne explained. Just watching, writing, noting patterns. The judge reviewed one particular entry. You recorded Mrs. Cooper saying, and I quote, Thomas is so trusting. It's almost too easy. Do you recall this conversation? Yes, Your Honor. She was talking to her sister Amanda on my front porch. They didn't think I could hear them through my screen door. Jessica's face crumpled as her own words condemned her. Thomas sat unmoved, watching years of manipulation exposed to harsh light. That evening, Rachel found Thomas in his office at Hydrotech. I heard about the court proceedings. Diana says we'll have final judgment next week. Thomas didn't look up from his work. The Cooper family's reputation is destroyed. James faces criminal charges. Jessica. He paused. Jessica has nothing left. And how do you feel about that? Now he met her gaze. I feel nothing for them. They're just failed calculations now. Variables that didn't perform as expected. Chapter 8. Rebuilding. The medical trust for Michael came together with cold efficiency. Thomas worked with Diana to ensure the legal framework protected the boys' interests while preventing James or Jessica from accessing the funds. Eleanor Whitaker insists on being involved, Diana reported during a planning session.
Fine.
Thomas reviewed the documents. As long as she understands I won't play happy families. The money is for Michael's care, nothing more. Eleanor Whitaker herself requested a meeting. She sat across from Thomas in his office, dignity intact despite her family's disgrace. You're a remarkable man, Mr. Reeves, she said. Most would have abandoned the child completely. Michael is innocent. He deserves proper medical care, but not your presence. Thomas set down his pen. Would you force your love on someone who'd lied to you for 15 years? He's not the one who lied. No, but he represents their betrayal. I'll ensure he's cared for, Mrs. Whitaker. That's all I can offer. Eleanor nodded slowly. I understand. More than you might think. She placed a check on his desk. This is my contribution to the trust. Use it well. The trust established, Thomas focused on processing his emotions through sessions with Rachel. Her office became a space where he could examine the wreckage of his life with clinical detachment. You've achieved your revenge, Rachel noted during one session. Jessica and James are ruined. The Coopers are disgraced. What now? Now I rebuild. Without their lies distorting my vision, Rachel leaned forward. And what do you see clearly now? I see who was truly loyal, who warned me years ago about Jessica's nature. His gaze held hers. Who stood by me even when I refused to listen. Their relationship evolved gradually, built on understanding rather than deception. Rachel knew his broken pieces, had helped him examine them without flinching. Trust, when it came, felt solid. Real. I won't be like them, Thomas told her during dinner one evening. No secrets. No manipulation. Rachel's response was simple. I know. The medical trust proved its worth as Michael's treatment progressed. Thomas reviewed the reports Diana forwarded, tracking the boy's improvement with professional distance. His latest tests show promise, Dr. Walsh reported during a conference call. The new treatment protocol is working. Good. Thomas kept his voice neutral. Ensure he has whatever he needs. James tried to interfere once, showing up at Thomas's office unannounced. Security removed him within minutes. He's my son, James had shouted. You can't keep me from him. Thomas's response cut deep. I raised your son while you played mentor. Now you can watch from a distance while I ensure he gets proper care. Ironic, isn't it? Chapter 9. New Foundations. 5 years passed. Thomas channeled his engineering expertise into developing medical devices, working closely with Dr. Walsh's research foundation. Their collaboration produced innovations in genetic disorder treatments. Your designs are revolutionary, Dr. Walsh said, reviewing their latest prototype. Personal experience does make a difference. Experience with betrayal, Thomas corrected. It teaches you to examine everything. Trust nothing without verification. James's final downfall came through medical board hearings. Thomas attended each session, watching his former friend's career end piece by piece. Dr. Whitaker demonstrated gross negligence, the board chairman announced. By withholding critical medical history to conceal personal indiscretions, he violated the most basic tenets of medical ethics. The ban from hospital affiliations destroyed what remained of James's practice. Diana's divorce settlement claimed most of his assets. His older children, learning the full truth about their father's deception, cut contact. Jessica's attempts to rebuild failed systematically. She moved to Idaho, seeking anonymity, but Amanda's memoir followed her like a curse. Truth and Lies. My Sister's Betrayal became a bestseller. Each chapter stripped away another layer of Jessica's carefully constructed victim narrative. The woman who once moved through Pittsburgh's highest circles now worked as a low-level administrative assistant, her dreams of status permanently shattered. Thomas received a copy of Amanda's book. Inside, she'd written, I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. Some debts can never be repaid. He donated the book to the local library without reading it. Eleanor Whitaker made periodic attempts to involve Thomas in family events. Each invitation met the same response. Michael has his trust. He has his care. That's the extent of my involvement. He asks about you, she tried once. He has his real father now. Let him ask James about choices and consequences. Thomas found his peace working with Dr. Walsh's foundation, transforming his pain into progress. Rachel moved in with him, their relationship built on years of honest communication. The foundation wants to honor you at next month's gala, Rachel mentioned one evening.
No.
Thomas continued working on his latest design. The work matters. Recognition doesn't. The invitation to Michael's college graduation arrived via Eleanor. Thomas viewed the ceremony from a distance, watching the boy he'd raised receive his diploma. Michael had grown tall, healthy thanks to proper treatment. He moved with James's confidence, but showed none of his father's arrogance. The medical trust had served its purpose. Do you regret not being part of his life? Rachel asked later. Thomas considered the question. I regret believing lies. I regret wasting 15 years on their deception. But maintaining distance from Michael? No. Some bridges, once burned, should stay ashes. The truth of his revenge lay not in the punishment itself, but in its lasting consequences. Each time Jessica served coffee in her Idaho office, each time James passed a hospital he couldn't enter, each time the Coopers faced whispers at social events, they faced the price of their choices. Thomas and Rachel built their life together, free from the weight of deception. He never spoke Jessica's name again, never responded to James's attempts at contact. The past remained where it belonged, sealed in court documents and medical trust paperwork. The final victory wasn't in destroying their lives, but in moving forward without them. Thomas's revenge succeeded not because he'd taken everything from them, but because they'd lost it all through their own exposed lies. In his office at the Research Foundation, Thomas kept one reminder: the wrench he'd used to fix Jessica's car during their college meeting. Not for nostalgia, but as a warning. Trust, like metal, can be broken by enough pressure. But unlike metal, once broken, it can never be reforged. Epilogue 10 years after the reckoning. Dr. Michael Whitaker stood at the podium of Johns Hopkins Medical Center, presenting his research on genetic disorders. At 29, he'd become a leading voice in genetic research, driven by his own experience with inherited conditions. Early detection and intervention remain crucial, he explained to the gathered medical professionals. My own case proved that delayed treatment due to hidden medical histories can severely impact patient outcomes. In the audience, Thomas Reeves sat near the back, unnoticed. He attended these presentations periodically, tracking Michael's progress from a distance. The medical trust he'd established had funded Michael's education, enabling his path to becoming a doctor specializing in genetic disorders. After the presentation, Thomas slipped out before Michael could spot him. He'd maintained this pattern for years, monitoring, providing support through the trust, but never engaging directly. His phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. How was the presentation? Excellent. He's doing good work. Rachel understood his complex relationship with Michael. Their marriage of 7 years had been built on that understanding. No lies, no pretense, no pressure to change his positions. Thomas's work with the Walsh Research Foundation had revolutionized medical device development. Their latest project, a new genetic testing protocol, promised faster results for inherited conditions. The foundation had grown into a major force in medical research, with Thomas's engineering innovations driving much of their progress. The new testing protocol launches next month, he told Rachel over dinner at their home. Preliminary results show 40% faster detection rates. Rachel, now heading her own psychiatric practice specializing in trauma recovery, nodded. Any word from Diana about the patent applications? Diana Whitaker had transformed her legal practice after divorcing James, focusing on medical technology patents. Her collaboration with Thomas had protected dozens of innovations, ensuring they remained accessible to patients while generating funding for further research. She's handling everything. Thomas sipped his wine. The Whitaker name still carries weight in legal circles, even if James destroyed its medical reputation. James Whitaker's fall had been complete. After losing his medical license, he tried teaching, but his notoriety followed him. Now he lived in Florida, working as a medical equipment sales representative, a bitter irony given Thomas's success in medical device development. His attempts to contact Michael had decreased over the years, especially after Michael took Diana's surname instead of his. Jessica's life in Idaho had settled into quiet obscurity. Her job as an administrative assistant at a small insurance firm suited her reduced circumstances. Amanda's memoir, now in its 4th printing, had ensured Jessica couldn't escape her past. Local dating attempts failed whenever potential partners Googled her name. The Cooper family had never recovered their former social status. Robert Cooper's involvement in the scandal had led to multiple SEC investigations. While he avoided jail time, his reputation and business empire crumbled. Cooper Real Estate now operated as a small commercial property management firm, their grand development days long past. Amanda Cooper had channeled her guilt into advocacy work, establishing a foundation supporting children affected by parental deception. Her memoir's royalties funded counseling services for families dealing with similar situations. She and Michael maintained a cautious relationship, both healing from their shared history. Amanda's foundation is doing good work, Rachel mentioned. They've helped hundreds of families navigate similar situations. Thomas nodded. Redemption through action, not words. Marianne Phillips had passed away 2 years earlier, but her detailed journals had become part of a psychological study on infidelity patterns. Her observations, spanning decades, provided valuable insights into how deception affected communities. Thomas had arranged for her journals to be preserved in the university's research archives. The Thorns, Richard and Sophia, had expanded their investigation firm to specialize in medical fraud cases. Their experience with Thomas's case had revealed a niche market. Sophia's digital forensic skills proved particularly valuable in exposing healthcare deception. Sophia called, Rachel said. The Foundation's background checks revealed another doctor hiding patient histories. She wants your input on handling the evidence. Thomas's reputation for exposing medical deception had grown. Hospitals sought his advice on preventing similar situations. His story of discovering Michael's true paternity through genetic testing had become a cautionary tale in medical ethics courses. Dr. Benjamin Walsh had retired from active practice but continued advising the Foundation. His collaboration with Thomas had helped countless families access better genetic testing and treatment. They shared an understanding born of personal experience with medical deception. Eleanor Whitaker maintained her involvement with Michael's trust until her death 3 years ago. Her final letter to Thomas acknowledged his role in Michael's success. You gave him a future when his biological parents only thought of themselves. The trust itself had evolved into a broader foundation supporting medical students focused on genetic research. Michael served on its board, though Thomas handled his contributions through Diana to maintain professional distance. Diana's own children had followed different paths after learning of their father's deception. The eldest became an ethics attorney, specializing in medical malpractice. The younger chose international aid work, distancing herself from family drama. Diana's daughter Sarah is working with Doctors Without Borders now, Rachel updated him. Completely different direction from James's medical practice. Thomas appreciated the irony. Better to help others than protect lies. Their own life had found its rhythm. Thomas's work with the Foundation consumed much of his time, but he and Rachel maintained boundaries between professional and personal life. Their home remained a sanctuary from the complexities of their work. They never had children, a mutual decision based on their experiences. Instead, they focused on their respective fields, making differences in ways that suited their strengths. Rachel's practice helped others heal from betrayal, while Thomas's innovations protected patients from medical deception. The Foundation Board wants to expand the testing program, Thomas mentioned. Implement it in smaller hospitals, reach more communities. Rachel understood his drive. Still protecting others from what you experienced? Someone has to. Michael's research frequently cited the Walsh Foundation's work, though he never mentioned Thomas directly. His papers acknowledged the trust that funded his education, referring to it professionally as the Whitaker Medical Trust. Thomas kept track of Michael's publications, noting how the young doctor's work focused on preventing others from experiencing delayed treatment due to hidden medical histories. In his own way, Michael had turned his experience into a force for positive change. The medical community had learned from the scandal. New protocols required more thorough documentation of family medical histories. Hospitals implemented stricter verification procedures for genetic information. Thomas's story had exposed vulnerabilities in the system that others now work to prevent. Michael's latest paper references your testing protocols, Rachel noted, reading a medical journal. He's building on your work, even if he doesn't know it's yours. Thomas appreciated the symmetry. His revenge had destroyed the lies, but the aftermath had created tools to prevent similar deceptions. The Foundation's work protected other families from experiencing what he had endured. James had attempted reconciliation once more, sending a letter after Eleanor's death. Thomas returned it unopened, his position unchanged. Some betrayals couldn't be forgiven, only used as lessons for others. Jessica's life remained small. Her Idaho coworkers knew nothing of her past, her conversation limited to basic pleasantries. The woman who once manipulated Pittsburgh's social circles now processed insurance claims, her ambitions burned away by exposure. Thomas heard through Diana that Michael had married a fellow researcher, their work focusing on early detection of genetic disorders. They had 2 children, both thoroughly tested for inherited conditions. Michael's commitment to medical transparency stood in stark contrast to his biological parents' deception. The Walsh Research Foundation had become Thomas's legacy. Its innovations saved lives, its protocols protected families, its research prevented others from suffering delayed treatment due to hidden medical histories. He transformed personal betrayal into systematic protection for others. Rachel's practice had grown to include other therapists specializing in betrayal trauma. They worked with families affected by medical deception, helping them rebuild trust and establish healthier patterns. Her insights from Thomas's case informed their approach. "Your story helps others heal," she told him. They learned that moving forward doesn't require forgiveness. Thomas's position on forgiveness remained absolute. He'd never responded to Jessica's attempts at contact, never acknowledged James's presence at medical conferences, never engaged with the Cooper family's occasional overtures. His focus remained on preventing future betrayals rather than healing past ones. The Foundation's latest project involved developing AI algorithms to detect inconsistencies in medical histories. Thomas's engineering background combined with his experience in exposing deception made him uniquely qualified to identify warning signs. "The system flags patterns similar to what happened with Michael," he explained to the development team. "Unexplained gaps, inconsistent histories, delayed reporting of genetic factors." His reputation in the medical device field had eclipsed his past. Younger colleagues knew him as an innovative engineer and rigid ethicist, not as the man whose revenge exposed systemic weaknesses in medical history reporting. The story had faded from public memory, but its effects rippled through medical protocols and ethics guidelines. Cases of hidden genetic histories dropped significantly after hospitals implemented the Foundation's verification procedures. Thomas and Rachel's marriage demonstrated what he'd learned about trust. Their relationship operated on complete transparency, each respecting the other's boundaries and beliefs. No manipulation, no hidden agendas, no attempts to change established positions. 10 years, Rachel mused during their anniversary dinner. "We built something real from the wreckage." Thomas agreed. Truth as foundation instead of lies. Michael's success validated Thomas's approach to the trust. Financial support without emotional entanglement had allowed Michael to develop his own path, his own understanding of his history. His work helped others while acknowledging, through action rather than words, the impact of medical deception. The legacy of Thomas's revenge wasn't in the destruction of those who betrayed him, but in the systems now protecting others from similar deception. Each new protocol, each verification procedure, each protected patient represented a victory more significant than personal vengeance. James's attempts to rebuild his life had repeatedly failed. His name had become synonymous with medical ethics violations, his case studied in professional responsibility courses. His sales job barely covered his obligations to Diana's divorce settlement. Jessica's isolation in Idaho continued. Her small apartment contained no photos from her previous life, no mementos of her time as a social climber in Pittsburgh. Local attempts at friendship withered once people sensed the weight of secrets in her careful conversations. The Cooper family's decline had stabilized at a lower social tier. They operated their reduced business quietly. Their previous prominence faded to cautionary whispers at business schools. Robert Cooper had retired to Florida, his development dreams replaced by modest property management. Amanda's advocacy work had given her purpose. Her foundation helped children understand they weren't responsible for adult deceptions, while helping parents navigate the complexities of revealed family secrets. Her own healing came through helping others heal. Thomas maintained his distance from all of them. His focus remained on the Foundation's work, on developing protections against medical deception, on transforming betrayal into safeguards for others. The epilogue to his revenge played out in medical offices across the country, where new protocols prevented hidden histories from harming patients. In research labs developing faster genetic tests. In hospitals implementing stricter verification procedures. He destroyed those who betrayed him, But more importantly, he'd helped build systems to protect others from similar betrayals. The Foundation's work would outlast personal vengeance, creating a legacy of protection rather than destruction. Life had moved forward, shaped by but not defined by the past. Thomas and Rachel's home remained a space of truth and understanding. While their work helped others navigate the aftermath of betrayal, they built something genuine from the ashes of deception. The final measure of his revenge wasn't in the destroyed lives of those who betrayed him, but in the protected lives of those who would never experience similar betrayal thanks to the systems he'd helped create. Truth had become his tool for preventing future deceptions rather than just exposing past ones. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.